It feels like every Zelda game has an absolutely iconic soundtrack, and everybody remembers maybe a different one just depending on what they played the most, maybe growing up. We've talked about Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, we've talked about A Link to the Past, but we haven't talked about Ocarina of Time. And this is, I think, one of the best Zelda soundtracks of all time. In particular because it can teach you a whole lot about the Lydian mode. That sound, that it's such an N64 vibe. Yeah. That right there. Is this like the most relaxing intro to a game basically ever? Like, I mean, you could just sit here and listen to this pretty much on repeat. I mean, that's why the video I'm literally watching right now is extended for an hour. Because, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people want to sit and listen to this for an hour because you just can. There's so many really great things happening here harmonically. But in its essence, it's really simple. But it teaches us something that is such a unique sound to this game. And you may not have even realized it's what you're hearing, but Koji Kondo strikes again and teaches everybody in 1998 about Lydian. Check this out. Let's go back to the beginning. I love that chord. I love that chord for a couple of reasons. This is just an F major 7 chord. And it could have been voiced like a basic F major 7. That would make perfect sense. But instead, we use this 6 in here, right? So we have F, our 1, our 3, our 5, and here we're using the 6 to the 7. Now, it's just a beautiful way to voice F major 7, but it has a dual purpose, because what is the 6 and the 7 of F is about to become something entirely different when we change to our next chord. Now when we move our chord to C major, we end up with a C add 9 chord, right? So in its base version, we just have a C triad, C major triad, and we add what is the 9th, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right? We're just dropping it an octave into here. C major add 9. This is a spread out version of C major add 9, right? There's the 3 notes of our triad, our 1, our 5, but we've simply taken the 3 and moved it up to get this beautiful 10th. This works really well in this part of the piano because watch what happens if I take that note and I actually move it down to where you might expect a normal root position C major chord to be played. Listen to this. It sounds awful. It sounds absolutely terrible. The lower we get on the piano, and honestly just frequency in general, the less things mix together very well. I'm sure there's a physics explanation for why this is, but I'm not prepared to answer that at this time. We take our 3rd and we move it up an octave, and all of a sudden that space just creates this beautiful, smooth voicing of C major. It's literally C major. We haven't added anything to it. It's these 3 notes, and we just do that. This is like the trick. I know I'm getting a little off topic, but this is such a powerful trick with just voicing anything on the piano, making chords of any kind. If you're getting into a position where it's like sounding a little bit crunchy, you can just take things and spread them out. And if you spread them out, all of a sudden they become beautiful, right? And so anyways, that's what we're doing with this C major chord. But the notes that we used, that we said on F, were 6 and 7. That's C major add 9, right? Our 9 and our 3, right? We can just go back and forth. I love when we use common tones of chords to create consistency. The ones here, well, in fact, there's a lot, but the ones we're focusing on as our theme are this D and this C, right? And as we just explained, they have a different function depending on what chord we're playing, right? Function just means like when whatever chord we're playing, a particular note does something in the chord. It represents something within the chord, right? And so as we said, if we're talking F major, those two notes are 6 and 7. And if we're talking C major, that's a ninth. And then it's our third. We're just playing, repeating our third, right? Right? And that's how we get that add 9 sound. And then, so that's already iconic. But then we bring in the actual ocarina, which is a beautiful whistle-like instrument. Have you ever seen an ocarina? They're really fascinating. I don't know how they're made, but I've heard them played in person, and boy, they're beautiful. And I think that was like such a genius move with the soundtrack and the whole theme of the game. And as we know, that theme is like utilized in the game in such a clever way. But we'll get to that. That note, I think, is Koji Kondo teaching everybody about Lydian. Here's what I mean. So this note that we land on that's so iconic in this soundtrack, it's one of the most recognizable things from this theme, right? And that note doesn't belong in that chord, right? F. Let's go to F major, just like the key of F major. We play an F major scale and we see it contains that note in particular, B flat. We do not see a B natural in the key of F normally. But here we do. This is why this is so important. We're doing something in the accompaniment, in the left hand, that we've already talked about, how we're using the same thing in multiple different ways. This is a very commonly used thematic device in music, and it works really well. But we're doing the same exact thing with the melody here. So we keep our exact same chord progression just back and forth from F major to C major. But as we introduce this beautiful melody, that note is so important, and it's doing two completely different things in each chord. When we are on F, we already said that this doesn't belong there, because in F major, typically, we have a B flat. But that just wouldn't work here, right? Because imagine if our whole sound was... This is going to be really bad. Let me show you what this would sound like. That's awful. That's terrible. And then we go, and we'd have to switch it here for C major, because as we know, C major contains the B natural. So all we're doing is we're just saying, you know what? That B flat doesn't work here, even though we're playing an F chord. It just doesn't fit. But what we can do is we can take that B flat and we can make it a B natural. And now we get this sound. Well, that's an interesting sound, which also, sounds a little familiar with this soundtrack. Right? So this is all over the place in this entire soundtrack. Is anybody surprised that Koji Kondo is a master of theme writing? So we have this note against this F major chord. And that note, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, sharp 11. So in a chord sense, we call this a sharp 11. In a scale sense, remember, if we want to add the final note and just keep stacking thirds like this, watch this. Every single chord is just a scale. Ready for this? I'm going to take the 3 notes up here I'm playing in my right hand, I'm going to drop them 1 octave, and I'm going to add them to my left, and watch what we get. We just get 1 scale, and that scale is almost F major, but there's one distinct difference. We have substituted the normal B flat that we would expect to find in the key of F, we've substituted that out for our B natural. Well, what degree of the scale did we change? We went 1, 2, 3, 4 is what we normally expect, but we didn't use that. We made our 4 sharp. Sharp 4. Now this is a mode. It's a major scale that we've made a slight alteration to create a slightly different scale. And this mode is called Lydian. Lydian is simply a major scale with a sharp 4. We can play this absolutely anywhere. Let's take something like D flat major. If we know that the formula for the Lydian mode is sharp 4, then we can just find our 4th degree of the scale and just make that sharp, raise it half a step. Now it's a G instead of a G flat, and we get this. Like chords with that same scale, and by that I mean I'm just going to take that bank of notes and I'm going to spread them out. Remember, at the beginning we talked about spreading things out. It can all of a sudden make beautiful, beautiful sounding harmony. I'm going to take these notes and I'm just going to play them around the piano. We get this sound. It's an absolutely gorgeous mode. We can do the exact same thing in F. Remember, we're just taking our B flat out, substituting it for a B natural, and we get this. And when we go to our C major, we're going to use the exact same notes. Because that is just the C major scale. If we play no black keys, right? We started on F. Now it's F Lydian. But if we started on C, we just get the C major scale, right? This is the brilliance of modes. This is what's so useful about modes. So with 2 chords and 1 simple line, Koji Kondo wrote one of the most brilliant themes, I think, of any video game ever. And he did it in a way that kind of taught everybody about the sound of Lydian, right? Because we just recognize this sound over that chord. And I think everybody remembers that sound as being this just ethereal, relaxing, beautiful, mystical type of sound. And then we hang on to that note as we resolve to C major. Now, in C major, it's just the major 7th, right? So that's a pretty standard part of a C major chord. But it's just that one usage here that's a little unusual. And when we talk about adding these other notes too of the bottom that we played before, that part, that's what we got going on here against F major. It's so nice. We have 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, and our sharp 11. Such a beautiful chord. And 2 chords! 2 chords! And that just absolutely makes this thing iconic. But we don't end there. Oh, yeah. Here we go. Oh, come on. Go right back to it. Just so amazing. And I talk about this every time we do something about video game music, especially video game music from the 90s, from the N64, the NES, all the old consoles. They were so brilliant at taking something so simple and making it one of the most beautiful things you've ever heard. Because so far, we've dealt with 2 chords. We've dealt with F major 7, sharp 11, and we've dealt with C major 7. And all we do on this bridge, I guess, or this second section, is we just go to our F, and now instead of going to a C, we kind of build up a little bit right? We're going from our 4 chord. If we're calling this in C, if we're saying that this is home base, then that makes this the 4 chord. And now this is like the 5 chord, which kind of gives us this feeling we're going somewhere. Something's building up here. We kind of go back and forth here for a bit. And then finally we get the first, like, whoa, where are we going here? And that's simply A flat major 7 to B flat major. And you might expect that to resolve to C, because it is leading there. We went from 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, and we could resolve it there and it would make perfect sense, but instead we get a slight deceptive cadence, something that you're not expecting the harmony to do by... And then just going right back to our 4-1 resolution. What a brilliant theme. And the fact that this buildup, F major, G major, A flat major, B flat major, leads so perfectly to create that slight deceptive cadence here, means that we can now just start the thing over, right? And that's the brilliance of video game music, is that it's designed to be looped. I mean, there's so much music from this game. It would take probably hours to do a deep dive and break down all of it, but there's so much. I mean, there's stuff I want to talk about that there's just no way I can fit in this video. We'll just have to revisit it at some point, I guess. But I always love to just geek out about the fact that, like, such a simple concept in music theory can be taught with things like this, and that we kind of, like, learned without even realizing it. Just by the nature of playing and being familiarized with the sound. It's like, once I point out what it is, your brain just goes, oh yeah, I know that. Games like this and composers like Koji Kondo were so incredible at doing that. I wish I could take hours just to break down all the stuff in this game. But for now, I just wanted to talk about the Lydian mode and how literally the theme from Ocarina of Time taught us all what the Lydian mode was and what it sounds like and how beautiful it is. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. We'll revisit Ocarina of Time again in the future, and we'll see you in the next one.